Welcome to this 2026 tarot reading for personal growth and inner wisdom. This is a collective reading, so if you're seeing this, there's a message for you. But remember, take only what resonates and leave the rest. What I did for this 2026 reading is I picked one card per month and then one card to symbolize perhaps the major theme or soul lesson for this month. And we have been hearing a lot through other mediums, like I watch videos about other astrologers or things like this telling us that the next couple of years are going to be huge in terms of shifting in vibrations in the earth and people. And when I see the cards, this is definitely a message I'm getting here, and it is super exciting, especially because of the theme of the year, Judgment, which I'll get to a bit later. It is so empowering and exciting. That being said, at the beginning of the year, there might be a little bit more haziness. That's not always something that we wanted to learn. Maybe at the beginning we were thinking 2025, we've gone through all this stuff. We want to start off running in 2026. That being said, it is going to brighten up towards the middle of the year. So let's dive in. So for the first month, we got the Seven of Swords. Actually, the first 4 months, we got a lot of cards that are just symbolizing not seeing clearly. Because let's say all three of these cards, the Seven of Swords, the Moon, and the Seven of Cups, are all about basically not really knowing, having too many options, not seeing clearly. The Seven of Swords, to begin with, is all about basically feeling as if you can't, like the Seven of Swords is about lying or stealing or cheating. And what I'm getting here, especially with the other cards that came out after, is that it's not other people that are doing that to you. I think it's you who's hiding something from yourself. Not intentionally, but somehow you're not able to see something. It's almost like you don't want to see something. And what's interesting is it's really highlighted by the second card that came out, the Moon, which is about basically that feeling that you can't know for sure what you're seeing. You can't rely on your senses to be able to figure things out. Because let's say compared to like the sun shining down and shining its light where you see very clearly, in the moonlight, it's really hard to distinguish what you're seeing. There's a shadow over there. Is it a real scary shadow? Is something hiding in that shadow? Or is it just a figment of your imagination? And vice versa, maybe there's a real danger that's hiding, but you can't actually even see it. So the moon card symbolizes not being able to see things, and as a result, sometimes that brings up fear and anxiety. But the moon also promises that if you follow your intuition, because moons in tarot have to do with our subconscious and our intuition, you can see clearly. You'll be able to see through the fogginess. But for that, you can't rely on your normal senses, and you really have to like close your eyes and not see and use your internal eyes. And so again, though, this kind of feeling of not knowing things and kind of being confused and not knowing whether it's day or night, it's kind of just a kind of confusing moment of the year, is echoed again in the fourth card that came out, the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups is basically almost about having too many options and not knowing which one to go to. And again, being kind of confused. It's also linked to dreams and again, our subconscious, and really tuning into our dreams and our guts in order to be able to kind of like figure out what's going on. But it's interesting too, because these two sevens came out, the Seven of Swords and the Seven of Cups. And sevens have to do with this kind of like sevens are sometimes linked to kind of like being stuck in between heaven and earth. And so I think sometimes the confusion that might be happening, or the not seeing clearly, that being in the fog, has to do almost with perhaps what you're trying to strive for. Maybe it's your abilities or your gifts, and you're kind of stuck in between, not actually getting there. And the reason I'm thinking that is because there's a lot of other cards that came up during the reading that we'll get to a little later, but especially because of this card. This card is all about the Judgment card, which symbolizes the year and the theme and maybe our soul lesson for this whole year, is that it's about basically following your calling, rising up, and also it's about spiritual awakenings. And so this being stuck in between the earth and heaven and kind of like not seeing clearly is actually just, I think that's what it's about. And what's interesting though is that I think that this hazy period is uncomfortable as it is going to be actually essential for moving forward. So if you can kind of like breathe into it and accept it for what it is, it's actually going to be beneficial. And I'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to put these cards back. So then what's interesting though is what I'm getting is we got the 7 of Pentacles, another 7. Wow. Another 7. So and the 7 of Pentacles is all about basically planting seeds now for the future. It's investing in the future. And what I'm seeing here is that despite not seeing and despite not having anything concrete to stand on, it's really important that you continue your practices for all the things that you're wanting to do. Maybe it's you're trying to improve your ability to lean into your subconscious or your intuition or your psychic gifts, or just the gifts that you have. You're really trying to accentuate them, but you need to continue to invest, continue to plant, continue to do it, even if you don't see the results right now. Because it's by doing this that you're gonna eventually break free. And it's interesting because for the month of May, we got the Ace of Pentacles. And the Ace of Pentacles is about basically new beginnings, but something, again, Pentacles is everything that is really important and that's very meaningful, that takes time. It's not quick fixes. And this ace, though, promises, this seed promises to become this beautiful big tree. But you need to trust that it's at the beginning phase. But again, by doing that is maybe by having all these options and kind of like planting many different seeds without knowing, without really seeing clearly, without knowing which one is actually going to come to fruition. But then all of a sudden, one is going to start to build momentum and start growing. And that is going to be really exciting because all of a sudden you're going to start seeing clearly. And that is definitely echoed in the next card that came out, the Sun. And the sun is that beautiful, warm light that just shines down on us. And also the beautiful thing about the sun compared to the moon is that it really is shining that beautiful light that you can see. So to me, what I see here is that the beginning of the year is foggy and hazy, but then all of a sudden something's going to click. That one seed that you planted, one of many though, because you've been planting a lot, one seed is all of a sudden going to grow, and all of a sudden you're going to see clearly. That haze is going to just dissipate, the sun's going to come down and shine, and you're all of a sudden going to see. I love the fact that the moon and the sun are kind of in oppositions on this reading, and just it's like all of a sudden it's like this mirror, and you had the haze but it's counterbalanced by the sun. And the sun is one of those beautiful, powerful cards, sometimes considered one of the best in the whole deck, because it's so joyful, and after this moment of haze and confusion, it's going to feel so good and warm. And what better way to help something grow? We know that seeds actually need what? Sun. So this is a perfect card to follow this seed that's been planted. And then in July, we got the Emperor. And I know the Emperor can get a bad rap sometimes because it talks of structure and rules and boundaries. But when we think about it for ourselves, I really think it's this beautiful card that also just says that now that we had that sun, that clarity, here we are as this tall Emperor, this tree with the sun right there. And with the sun and that kind of like maybe new confidence in ourselves, we are able to basically see far ahead. Again, it's about seeing that clarity. When we're this tall tree and we can see ahead, see all our kind of like the things that are awaiting us, it gives us that confidence and that structure. And also we become something very stable and something that we can rely on. And I think that is a beautiful card. I also think it's so interesting because when I take the moon card and I put the Emperor right under it, I almost feel like when I used to take photos, you would get a negative. And the negative was the complete opposite. And I feel like these cards are almost the complete opposite. In terms of like, for example, here you have these white trees against the black background with the moon, and here instead you have the black tree against the white background and the sun. And I just feel like it's this kind of like this tree coming in to kind of like grow in the middle of where these two kind of maybe confusing, not sure, two different paths or many different paths actually not being clear. And then all of a sudden there's this one that just feels very, very sure. It's this tree. It's this tree that's coming out of this pentacle. And so what's interesting is I find that again, that to get this tree, to get this negative, you needed this. So instead of resisting this moment of not seeing clearly, lean into it, because it's thanks to that you will then get to this tree, to be able to be that stable foundation. So the next two cards are very interesting though, and I think it's really something that's fun, is that the idea of this light coming in, that's flashing and that's kind of like shining this beautiful light onto you. The thing about light though shining in is that we then also see things clearly. So whatever has been shining and hiding in the shadows, maybe some of these things that were hiding in that moon card, actually with the sun, they're actually exposed. So what happens sometimes when we have these moments of bursts of sunlight and kind of like clarity, we actually even start seeing some negative things though. Maybe some things that were hiding under our own little personal rocks. And so we have these two cards that came out right after that. So we have the Five of Swords and the Devil card. Well, the Five of Swords is all about conflict. And what I'm getting here is that the Five of Swords is also about picking your battles. So what I'm getting is that the sun is going to shine some light on perhaps some more inner or shadow work that you're going to have to do this year in 2026. But it's going to be up to you to now decide whether that is worth fighting for. As we evolve and we kind of move through our personal journeys, we get to also discover that there are certain things that we used to think were important that aren't anymore. And it's up to us to decide which fights are worth fighting for, which are the parts of ourselves that we want to fight for. I also think it's interesting because, especially with the second card that came up, the Devil card, I recently got this card in a personal reading, and it was about what I was really wanting, like a desire I was really wanting. And I think that especially in this reading, I'm getting this for you also, is that perhaps this devil, yes, it could be, again, maybe some internal work that you need to work on, like, because the devil is about addictions and maybe negative thought patterns or old ways of thinking that we're still holding on to. But what I'm getting more than that is that it might be a part of yourself that you're scared of. Maybe you're scared of your abilities or the gifts, and that's why, in a way, they're kind of hidden and hard to see, because in a way, you're not wanting to see them. You're hiding them from yourself because they scare you a bit. I know sometimes I'm scared of really stepping into my power. I'm worried of what it would do, first of all, what it would actually be like, and then also how it would change my life or maybe change my relationships. I also know that especially a lot of us in our work, you know, some people can look at it, like I know even tarot, sometimes people talk about it as the devil's work. I know it's not that, but other people's opinions, and, you know, we have these witch wounds where we're worried sometimes from past lives, perhaps. We're worried about having our gifts actually end up hurting us. And so I think what's interesting here is that, again, the sun has shined light on perhaps some things that you need to work on, but also shining light on this and this kind of like maybe the thing, the part of you, your gifts, what you want to do in the world, but that scare you too. Maybe that's where the conflicts are happening. Maybe the conflicts either are happening within yourself because of this gift that is kind of not easy to accept or see or really go to fully, or maybe it's a conflict from other people not accepting that you're going down this path, and that actually in the end you're really wanting to go to, or you're calling to go to rise up, but maybe the conflict is coming from other people not necessarily seeing what you're doing in a really good light, or not understanding exactly what is coming. Anyway, in any case, the sun has come out to shine on you, but also shine light on some of these other things, these lessons that we're going to learn. What I love though is that right after that, we get the Mother of Swords. She is able to cut through bullshit. She sees things clearly. She's able to be very balanced and fair, but not be swayed by her emotions or her kind of like whatever is happening. And what I love about this card too is, again, this card is about seeing clearly. So again, compared to that beginning part of the whole reading, now at this like really, I'd say from May on, there's really this clarity and able to see very, very clearly, compared to the first card where you were hiding something from yourself. Now you're able to see clearly. You might not necessarily, again, it might not be easy. You might not necessarily even act on it yet, but at least you're seeing it now. You're not hiding it from yourself anymore like you were in January. And what I love though at the end of this reading is for the last two cards, we got the Three of Wands and the Ace of Wands. And both wands are about our energy and our excitement and our passion and that drive and that creativity. And what I love about this is it's almost like we've kind of gone through this journey through this year where at the beginning things were hazy, then at the same time we were planting many different seeds. One of them grows, the sun comes, it shines this light. It also shines light on some more personal shadow work that we have to do. But by the end of the year, we're kind of working through that. And now we're also starting to really be able to lean into our passion and the things that we want to explore. Maybe it's the things that we want to explore in this Devil card. And we're really able to kind of like start exploring and planning about it. And what I love about this particular card in this deck is that it really kind of shows the gray, how gray life can be sometimes. And it's up to us to kind of pull away at the edges to get to that magic, to get to our gifts, to get to that, maybe that thing that's scary. Because yes, this card often talks about having to jump into something that's a little uncomfortable, to leave our comfort zone that's a bit gray and it's kind of boring, but at the same time it's safe. But it's up to us to jump into that middle, what is it? Look at how beautiful that is. It's calling us. And it could be scary, and yes, it is scary, but at the same time, it's calling us, and I find that that's so wonderful. And especially with this last card, the Ace of Wands, it's again, just like, it's almost as if we have this flash, this spark, this inner fire that's starting to burn. And again, it's really, look at it where it is in the reading. It's so beautifully placed, again, compared to this Moon card. And I find that now it's almost as if you're holding this wand that's lighting it up. So it means that now if you walk through that moon and you don't have the sunlight shining, you have your internal light that's going to be radiating out this light so that you can see clearly and also just have that drive and passion. And especially it has those buds on it, kind of like the buds coming out of this Ace of Pentacles. So again, I feel like this one idea is just going to be growing and budding and kind of bringing a lot of light and joy. And I love the end card of this reading, Judgment. It is the card that is symbolizing the kind of like the theme of the year or the soul lesson. And what I love so much about this card is the beautiful representation of it, because Judgment is about leaving the past behind. It's about answering a calling. It's about spiritual awakenings. And also what I love about it in this card is that it's almost as if the bird is flying high and shining. It is shining its own light. And if you see in this card too, there are these birds here. And so to me, I find it's like, this whole year is about you coming into your own, maybe accepting your gifts. It's about seeing clearly, but then it's about rising up above that, rising up. And what I love is that I know a lot of you watching this are working in healing in some kind of way. And at the beginning, when we do the healing for ourselves, we sometimes feel like we're only doing it for ourselves and we don't really know what it's doing for other people. We'd like to help other people, but it's not always clear if we are. But what I love about this one is that thanks to that internal fire, that internal flash, and that kind of like internal light that's coming out of you, you're rising up. But not only are you doing your work for yourself, you're also starting to inspire these other people down here to follow you. Just the same way we follow other people. It's not a question of becoming greater than other people. It's just that we work on ourselves, we do all this work, we work on our inner demons and our inner conflicts, and then we get to start shining a light so bright that we illuminate the darkness. And as a result, we fly up, we leave the past behind, but then we also inspire others. And I know that that is something that I want to do too. I'm working on myself, but I also hopefully want to be helpful and inspire others on their own journey. And this is such a beautiful card to represent 2026. It's so promising and hopeful that we will get there. So if I had any advice, it's just to remember that at the beginning of the year, we might have a little bit of haziness up until April even. And that at the same time, it's thanks to that not knowing and like going inwards and being able to find our own light that we will be able to have the sun and have all these wonderful things happen. and become our own. And so to trust it, to not be worried that things aren't clear or working out exactly perfectly at the beginning of the year. So on that, I'm wishing you lots of love and lots of laughter for this 2026. And I will see you in monthly readings and other videos that I put out on my channel. Thanks so much for watching.